Right, this is pre-calculus in 1-3, the 12 basic functions. Just kind of talk about domain and range of all of these. These can also be found in your textbook on the online version. All right, first one, x squared. Domain and range for each one of these is kind of what we'll go through. So if you look at domain, anything, you can put anything into this function. Actually, we'll just talk about domain because we can move these things around. So domain would be all real. Anything can be squared. There's no domain restrictions there. Okay. Same thing with x cubed. The domain would be all real numbers. Can't do anything, or there's no domain restrictions on that. So the cubic function kind of looks like that, the original basic. All right, the reciprocal function. We talked about this a little bit, but if you look at this, we can't divide by 0. So the domain for that would be x cannot be 0, but it can be anything else. So that's the reciprocal function. Square root function looks like this. Got to be a positive number. So your domain would be x is greater than or equal to 0 for the square root function. Exponential function, e to the x. You can put anything you want into that one. Looks like that. The natural log, now, that doesn't go below 0. So those all got to be positive numbers for the domain to put into that function. But that's what it looks like when you graph it. All right, the sine function. The sine function is bounded above and below. So there's the sine function. And then the cosine function is just the sine function shifted over a little bit. Okay. Absolute value function. You can put anything into that function. So that's what it looks like for the graph. Greatest integer function. That's your step function. You can only put integers into that. What's an integer? Whole number. So you're only going to put, well, you can put any number into it, but you're only going to get integers out of it. It just goes to the nearest integer. Okay. And then the logistic function. You can see that this kind of has a bound above it. Okay, so those are the 12 basic functions. Just kind of answering some questions today about those different types of functions. Which one of the functions has the domain of all the real numbers except 0? Which function is it? Well, if you remember, that's going to be your reciprocal function, or 1 over x, because you cannot divide by 0. So that would be the reciprocal function. All right. Graph the function negative x squared minus 1. All right, let's do it. Let's get our Desmos out here. Kind of know what it looks like, but let's try it. Negative x squared minus 1. Okay, so there you go. There's the function. You can see it down there. Let's pull that up a little bit. There's your function. All right. On what interval is the function increasing and decreasing? Well, you can see that we have a 0, -1. So it is increasing from -infinity to 0, and it's decreasing from 0 to infinity. Is the function even, odd, or neither? Well, when it has y-axis reflection, which this function does, that would be an even function. Does it have any extremes? Yes, it has a max. It has a max at 0, -1. How does the graph relate to the graph of the basic function y equals x squared? Well, that's just your parabola. So that's going to be the transformations that we're seeing here are x-axis reflection from this original function and down 1. And we'll talk about units or transformations here in a unit or two. Okay, that's a wrap for